Hey guys, it's Spike. No tutorial or anything this time. I've shown you changing oil in the car. I've shown you me building my workbench. But I'm doing something a little different today. I just want to go through some of the tools that I actually own. Ever since this pandemic had started, I have invested more of my time into different tools for me to work on renovating the house, do some yard work. So I'll show you what I have in my possession. Before I get to each of these, there is one that is not on my bench right now because it is supposed to be arriving tomorrow. It is a random orbit sander, and it is a Makita brand. And I am going to be using that to sand down some wood for a project I will show you in just a little bit. But yeah, basically, sander, you shave down the surface of the wood to give it a smoother surface. It kind of preps it for stains, seals. But yeah, that will be arriving tomorrow, and I will be putting that into use. But right now, I have some other stuff going on. I'll start with some of my most basic hand tools. Let's actually start with this one. This is my screwdriver set I got from Harbor Freight. This is a Pittsburgh brand. Now, I am a fan of the Pittsburgh brand tools. These are really good tools. I haven't had a problem with any of them. You've seen me use some of these in the oil change video. Of course, one of them I was not using properly, but you've also seen this flex head in the workbench video. So it's for those hard to reach areas, just bend it and just act like it's a normal tool. It's got some shanks. It's got a T-shaped screwdriver. You got your different size Phillips flatheads, and the small one, which is supposed to be up here. This one keeps falling off for some reason. And of course you got your bits here. It's your standard tool set that anyone should have. I do recommend this. You can get this at a very good price. Alright, so that is my screwdriver set. Now, the other one is my ratchet set. Another one you should be having. This is another Pittsburgh brand. And again, like I said, I go to Harbor Freight for the hand tools. They all do the job very well. I got a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and 1/2 inch sockets. And I got both imperial and metric. And I also got adapters at the ends here. And so this is a pretty good size set here, and I got this at a discount. They're known for their big coupons. I do need to get some extension bars. Well, in fact, I do have extension bars, but they're only to my 1/2 inch wrench. Or yeah. So that is that. And the ones I mainly use for the mechanical stuff. You did not see this one in any of my videos. Let me move this out of the way real quick. You did not see this in the oil change video because I had no need for it. My breaker bar. This one is if I need any extra leverage to break open any nuts I need to loosen up. But so far I've only needed this for tire rotations, which I'll do in another video down the road. But that's basically all this does, is just break those nuts open. Another one that I only use for my mechanical stuff is my torque wrench. This is a click type torque wrench. This does the complete opposite. This tightens the bolts down, but this is for those that require a specific amount of torque. Like with my tire rotations, they all require 100 foot-pounds, and this one will tell me when I have reached that amount. And in order to use this, I'll put my camera down for a minute and kind of show you how this works. So that's just all my calibration certificates. So on the bottom here, all this is measured in either foot-pounds or it's got metric too, but I use imperial because that's the metric that I'm familiar with. And you just loosen this nut up and twist this until you get to the correct torque that you want. Like you have to line this up. Right now I have it at 70 foot-pounds. And whenever you're done with it, you have to bring it all the way back down to 0 and tighten it back up. And yeah, whenever you so when you reach that that torque, it will give a click sound, and that's when you know you have to stop. So I'll put my torque wrench back. So yeah, when I do my tire rotation video, I'll show you how that's done. Of course, you have not we've not had the chance to use the vice grip yet, but we will do one down the road. Back here, now we get to my more powerful stuff. My bench grinder, which right now I have a coarse grind and a fine grind. I use this left one here. This is the one that came with the bench grinder. So this is like when I need to make an aggressive cut. Like I use this on my hatchet that I've used to cut the roots in the backyard. So and the other one, the fine grind, is just to give it the little finish. And I do have a medium grind, medium grit wheel. Of course, I have it stored somewhere right now. But I got this for, I believe it was $50. Of course, it's not top notch, but it does the job. And yeah, I like that it has the little light switch there. But this is also used to sharpen drill bits, which is why there's a little indent there. That's for drill bits. But I've not needed to use it for that purpose yet, but very soon I will. Let's see, I need to go down here. Some more of my power tools. My Milwaukee impact driver. Now this does make things easier on the hand. You can use this for screw driving. It'll like torque it down. It's like it will. What it is compared to my drill driver. There's both of them Milwaukee brand, and yeah, these are not Harbor Freight because I want my power tools to be reliable. But yeah, the drill driver, that's pretty self-explanatory. You can use this for both drilling and screw driving. Those numbers that you see on the side there, that's actually the clutch. So that's basically whenever it reaches a certain torque, it will stop. And of course you got the drill for like when you're using drill bits. The impact driver kind of does the same thing, but makes things a little easier on the wrist. And it uses kind of like a hammering action. It has little hammers in there. And so if you ever hear that little clacking noise whenever you screw down a screw, that's what that sound is that there's the little hammers clicking in there, kind of forcing it in. Let's see, along with what I have used these for, I do have a drill bit set because I have found from my research these are very reliable bits. These are long-lasting bits. So you got your Phillips, you got you've seen the 6-star point from the oil change video. I got adapters up here, but these are really good bits. They have not failed on me yet. And of course, you can always get bigger sizes with these drill bits. I forgot how many the count was. See, I'm gonna move these over here. There is another thing I want to show you that I have from Milwaukee. But first, yeah, let me first move all my stuff over here. Well, before I get to that, I mentioned a jack in my oil change video. This is the jack I have. This is a Pittsburgh brand from Harbor Freight. And this is a 3-ton low-profile jack. I especially use this for my car because it is so low to the ground. And I always recommend getting one of these pads here to protect the pinch weld on the underside of your car. And you had noticed that in the other video that I had mentioned jacks and jack stands. And you notice that I do not have the jack stands right now. I did have jack stands. The reason why you don't see them here is because a couple of months ago, Harbor Freight put out a recall for those particular jack stands. Now, originally, my jack stands were not part of that recall, but just this past week, they did issue a recall for my set. So I had to take those back. I got a refund for them, and I will be getting a new set very soon. They did not have any at this time. But back to the bench. One thing I forgot to show, this is important with the bench grinder. If you're getting a bench grinder, you will need one of these. This is a dressing stick. So what this is for is that after you've did grinding for quite some time, the cutting edges on these wheels are going to wear thin. They're going to lose their cutting power. And plus, in some circumstances, it will not maintain its roundness and will cause a lot of vibration on the machine and on your work table. So what this thing does is that when you power it on, you rub it up against the wheel and it grinds down that wheel until it gets its round shape again. Now, a tip that I would give, now you notice that there's still some faint marks on here. I use a permanent marker to put 3 lines all the way around the wheel, one in the center, one on the left, one on the right. And that tells me if there's any peaks or valleys. Like when I stop in between, if I see like a little bit of line somewhere, that tells me that there's a high spot. And I keep grinding until all that permanent marker is gone. So yeah, get one of these dressing sticks. There are different styles. There's like diamond cutters. Those will work just as well. Just you have to make sure you know how to use these. I did recently, this is also going to be for my project. If you're going to do any woodwork that includes screws, I would highly suggest you get countersink bits. Now, what these do is that you pre-drill the hole, and it will have a place for the screws to go in. It'll let the screws just cut the thing itself, but it'll also put an indent for the head of the screw to go flush with the wood. And so these are number 6, 8, and 10, and these are Cobalt brand from Lowe's. And that is the home improvement store that I have near me. Let's see, down here. Here's my other thing from Milwaukee. This is my hole saw kit. And as the name implies, they cut holes. Now there are different tools that are used to cut holes. I got mine's go from 7/8 inch. Well, actually, there is one smaller, 3/4 inch, all the way up to 5 inch, which is this big one here. And there are more sizes. This can go down as far as a 9/16 hole, all the way up to a 6-inch hole. And I have a little chart, like if I'm using a, like if I use a drill press, it shows me what speed I should be using it on, and depending on what kind of material I'm using. But this is all for all different kinds of metal, which I don't plan to work on at this time. But the reason for that chart is because you have to get it at a certain speed in order for it to cut efficiently. Although otherwise, all you're going to be doing is damaging your bit. But as you could tell by the paint loss on there, I have used it on a project before. There is one other tool I have. I know I said that I don't go to Harbor Freight for power tools just because I find them unreliable. But there is one exception, because I've seen some great reviews of it. I was looking for this kind of tool, and some people say it's even better than the DeWalt brand. This is a Hercules miter saw. And this is a 12-inch saw. It is sliding, and it is double bevel, and it also has the shadow guide. Now, I have seen complaints about there's other miter saws that use lasers as a guide. The problem with those is that sometimes you got to recalibrate them, and it will not cut the way that it actually does. With a shadow guide, I'm going to plug this in real quick. I'm not going to cut anything, but just to show you. See, the light just came on. I'm going to, and don't worry, there's a safety trigger on there, so I will not turn it on. So you see, there's the light there. Now, what it is. Now, if I had a piece of wood here, I could show you. I'll tell you what. Let me get a piece of cardboard. That would work. Again, I'm not going to cut anything. This is just to show you. See, so when I pull it down, you see that line there? That's the shadow of the saw. In this case, there is no mistake. That is where you're going to be cutting. And it's always good to rehearse the cut before you start the cut. All right, and I did say that this was a miter saw, so I'm going to show you each of the things here. I'm going to slide this out. That's another thing I need to do. I need to make more room in here. So first off, let me unlock the sliding mechanism so you can see that it does slide back and forth. I go again. I'm going to have to pull the table out so I can use this, but I do know that there are certain tables that hold miter saws, and as soon as I clear more junk out of here, I can do that. But to demonstrate, you got the miter gauge down here will tell me which way I'm going. And I think I got the... Alright, so like here I am 45 degrees to the right. And in some cases, yeah, there are places where it locks in place to the most common cuts. Like here, 45 degrees. 31.6, which that's for crown cuts. So that's not one I'm planning to use right now. Then you have... Yeah, I gotta bolt this down to the table too. We got 22.5, which is halfway to the 45 degree cut, 15 degrees, and 0 degrees. And of course, you also got the bevel cut, which I just need to unlock this, and then we can tilt it to one side, and right now it looks like it is at 31, looks like it's at 31.6 degrees, and I think that's because there's a stop on the, oh no, it's because of the fence that's in the way. So yeah, so in order to move that fence, we just move this out of the way, and now we can move it all the way down. And that's actually all the way to 50 degrees, but we don't need that far. Like right over here is 45 degrees. In fact, if you pull this back, it will lock in place at 45 degrees. So we're gonna put that back. All right, put it back to 0. I'm gonna lock it back in. Okay, and that's my Hercules miter saw, and so I will be putting this into use. I'm gonna pull the plug on it just so that it doesn't accidentally turn on. So, so yeah, I will be using this in my upcoming project, and I'll show you guys what that is. All right, so we're outside in my backyard, and this is our deck. Now, the reason why I'm going to do a project here is because this thing has been here for years and the boards need to be replaced. So as you can see, some of the boards have bowed. This one especially, look how far out that is. Some of the boards have cracked. Yeah. And that's because that when they put this together, they didn't even bother putting any sealer on it. And even some of the screws have rusted out. I don't think I can see the screw head on that one. So yeah, this is in need of repair. I think for these posts, I think we're just going to sand these down and put some primer on it, because taking these out is going to be too much work for me, considering that there's a ceiling on here. So that's what my project is, and it is especially going to be a challenge is this swing, and yeah, especially the chains are rusted out. Those have got to be replaced, but so does this swing. As you see, it's all grayed out. It's going through many years of weather, so this whole thing has got to be replaced. This whole deck has to go through this. So like I said, what the plan is, but there was some they put some latex paint on here, but I don't even know if we're gonna hold on to that. So what the plan is, we're going to get some more pine wood. I'm going to cut those into the sections. That there are some parts of the flooring that's like 16 feet. I feel more comfortable if we just cut them down a little more, and we'll see if maybe 8 feet kind of give it that that feel. And of course, now it looks like they've used like just regular screws. Those look like it's either steel or zinc coated. But we're gonna put in some proper screws, so those need wood screws. And of course, the most important part, like I said, when I get my sander here, I'm gonna sand down those boards. So we can put some stain and sealer on them to try to brighten this place up. So that's pretty much just what I wanted to talk about today, and I will let you know the progress on that. I'll see you guys later.